but you stand tall. Rivers flow, mountains fall. Beneath the storms, you find your calm. Unfazed by your will, the endless thrall. Life's abyss, you carve your path. Endless nights and days of wrath. In your corner, fierce aftermath. Strength in you can't go on, burning your past. You are enough, conquer the night. Ice and fire, no fear inside. Through the pain, go into the light. Hold your ground, embrace the fight. You are enough. Whispers haunt, doubt's cruel fair, but your will beyond compares. Rise above, break despair. In your heart you will find courage there. You are enough, conquer the night. Ice and fire, no fear inside. Through the pain, go into the light. Hold your ground, embrace the fight.
Tonight, on Countdown to Green, we look back at who rocked and who rolled over in Rockingham. The crew breaks down all the stars, stats, and storylines. And we buckle up for the final race in the trucks. All of that and more, coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello everyone and good evening. Welcome to round 4 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series and the Countdown to Green as we get you ready for that beautiful track out in the desert of Avondale, Arizona, Phoenix Raceway. Happy to be here tonight with you. I am your host, Alan Cavana, joined tonight by our friend Joshua Lee and a driver who will be driving in the ARCA series in real life, Phoenix Raceway this weekend, Ryan Vargas. How are you, gentlemen?
Excited to be back, especially in the new era we've got of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series, and right at a turning point of this qualifying series season 2, Ryan, we've got one more round tonight with these trucks, and then we're swapping cars next week.
Yeah, we're swapping cars next week, but tonight with the trucks, we all know it's no secret. Phoenix Raceway is known to bring the action. Lots of crashes, lots of cautions. Strategy is going to be a topic here tonight, Alan.
A lot of wide lanes of racing with these trucks. But first, Josh, it's a big day because if you're not on the iRacing sim, hopefully you are having fun playing iRacing Arcade, which just came out today on Steam, $24.99. It is a fun arcade, real-world style tracks, cars, all that fun stuff, and it's just fun to do.
I loved the demo we had on Steam a couple of months ago. I've been having a lot of fun with that. I'm excited to pick up the full game on Steam. It includes world-class circuits, world-class cars from FIA Formula 4, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and more across iRacing Arcade. You can manage a team, you can go from rags to riches, and oh, by the way, a console release coming soon for PlayStation and Xbox. So if you don't got Steam, you've got options to play coming up on the horizon.
Yeah, I love the idea. Multiplayer, career mode, and as you said, coming to consoles later. Speaking of console games, Ryan, there's a great one out there already.
Absolutely. I always love getting to talk about NASCAR 25, NASCAR's official video game made by the folks here at iRacing. This in-depth career mode features cameos from Dale Jr. and Dirty Mo Media, and the best part, all 4 NASCAR Touring Series are included in the game. Anything from ARCA to Trucks, O'Reilly, all the way up to Cup. And the best part about this, detailed driver ratings for 200 drivers, detailed track and laser scans. So it's similar to what you get on iRacing. And another thing that really I enjoy is the fact that whether you're a pro like the drivers we're going to see tonight, or a novice, somebody who just wants to pick up the controller and go play some video games, go race some cars, you have an opportunity to do so here. So Alan, I personally love the dynamic of being able to hop in, but also take it really seriously when you want.
100% love doing those tracks, the laps, the drafting around Daytona, Talladega, whatever you want to do, improve your skill. It's pretty fun stuff. Of course, everybody trying to make the championship series here in the Coke series, but Josh, not the only way you can qualify for the championship series.
We still got the eNASCAR College iRacing Series going on. In about 2 weeks' time, the Old Dominion Classic going to Martinsville Speedway. Over a decade break in eNASCAR before we're coming back to Martinsville in the College Series on March 18th for Week 1, March 25th for Week 2 for everybody that qualified in. So far this season, over 500 students have taken part, representing over 315 schools across the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. If you want to get signed up, you can right now. To register to race for $60,000 in scholarship prizes, visit pcl.gg/pages/eNASCAR. That's pcl.gg/pages/eNASCAR, or just scan that QR code right now for more information.
Love that we're heading back to Martinsville, an old school track. Another old school track. We were just there last week at Rockingham, guys. It was a fun week of racing in terms of all the splits, but the top split provided a lot of action, Ryan.
Yeah, lots of action, and amazingly, no cautions. Rockingham is one of those tracks that's known to be pretty treacherous, but as this race went on, as the tires wore, we saw the field spread out quite a bit, but it didn't mean we didn't have any action here. Obviously, Garrett Maines was one of the threats all night long, but we saw a lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of comers and goers, and Josh, it was a heck of a race to watch from home.
It was exciting, and I was a part of the broadcast team for this one, putting this highlight reel together that everybody saw at the end of the race, and it seemed like for Rockingham, especially in the top split, it was a strategy race. There wasn't a lot of survivability that you really needed. Here's some issues coming into pit road for the 54, but that's just kind of what we saw. We saw some beating and banging like we're seeing here, but a lot of it was just strategy and kind of don't beat yourself kind of racing, Alan.
Yeah, Garrett Maines taking the checkered flag there. And we've had 3 races so far in the trucks in the qualifying series. We continue to see kind of the cream of the crop rise, and that's why Garrett Maines is on top of the point standings right now. If you're on this page, guys, you're probably feeling pretty good, right, Brian?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you look at some of the names that are on this. You know, Garrett Maines, last week's Split 1 winner. He has a 437-point gap to that line. But however, we talked about this in the pre-show and our little pre-race talks here. If you finish first in the race in top split, that's about 400 points. 20th, that's only 200 points. So it's a 200-point swing, Josh, from first to 20th.
And I love the names that we're seeing up on this list, like Tyler Lateral, Logan Helton, names from Split 3. We got a name from Split 4 in Blake Giglio there in 21st, and going all the way down to Split 5. How about Chris Treppa there in P28? Kevin West on the bubble right now, another driver from Split 5. But take a look at the names, Alan, we see underneath that top 30. Blake Reynolds, a Split 1 driver. Jacob Wilkerson, another Split 1 driver. Carson Hocevar, a real-world NASCAR Cup Series competitor. He sits 34th. Yes, 27 points might seem like a lot, but as Ryan just said, Alan, a swing of 200 points is possible. Nobody's really out of it just yet.
And of course, the goal is to make it in the top 30 after this qualifying series. Hocevar is racing again tonight, so we'll see if he puts himself in that top 30, because everybody trying to make the championship series, Ryan, and they've changed things up. That's why that top 30 is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Right here is the breakdown of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. We get 4 rounds to start in the Craftsman Trucks. Then we head to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars for 4 more rounds, and we finish it all off with 3 rounds with the NASCAR Cup Series cars. You get 1 drop round, 1 mulligan. So if you have a bad race, just know that that worst race does get taken out of the points total. Multiple races will be happening at once. There are multiple splits happening. Tonight we'll be covering splits 1 and 2. This is open to all iRacers with a Class A oval license, and the top 30 drivers will be eligible to continue into free agency. Now, we're going to take a look at the schedule here. As you see right here, we're racing Phoenix. And also, this is the last race in the trucks, Josh. This is the last time that we're going to see these drivers take on the trucks. And it's going to be a big shakeup for these guys when they head to Miami in the O'Reilly cars.
If you're good in these NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series vehicles, you really got to collect some points tonight, because if you're not that good in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, well, we've got some of the toughest tracks there: Homestead, Darlington, Auto Club, Speedway, and Bristol before we get to the Cup cars. If you're not that good in the trucks, or if you're not that good in the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars, you got to collect points tonight.
Absolutely. Got to collect points and make sure that you bag all the cushion you can get, because once we start changing cars, it's going to matter. But let's talk about the car that we're currently driving, or I guess you get the truck we're currently driving. This is the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series vehicle. They run an Ilmor spec engine with about 650 plus horsepower. Transmission, normal 4-speed H-pattern manual. This thing weighs about 3,400 pounds. Got some Goodyear Eagles on it, and the wheelbase is about 112 inches. So pretty long wheelbase for these things. These things are very aerodynamically dependent, as we're going to take a look here now at Phoenix Raceway for the for the Logitech track analysis. Phoenix Raceway is located in Avondale, Arizona, with a 1 mile long layout, or 1.6 kilometers for those across the pond. The previous qualifying series winner is Donovan Strauss, back all the way in 2021.
And it's one of the classic tracks of NASCAR, getting you set for tonight. We told you about the college series, the qualifying series, guys. There's some major storylines going on tonight in this race. Again, it's the fourth round of the qualifying series, the last one for the trucks. What are you looking towards, especially some of those drivers doing the double duty?
Well, we're seeing a lot of the drivers that we've seen in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series also work their way into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Qualifying Series. The likes of Daniel Folkingham, Matthew Morton, Wyatt Tinsley, Abraham Vila, Chris Treppa, Jose Salas Jr. representing University of Maine at Machias, the Ohio State University of Houston, Lawrence Technical College. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these drivers pulling double duty in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series and here tonight, proving that that college series is competitive. If we're seeing the fast drivers from college series be fast here too, we're seeing that competitiveness of that series starting to show.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of competitiveness there. And with those college series drivers, that means we also have a mix of new faces. 20 of the 30 drivers in points, of the top 30 drivers, have not made a eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship Series start. So a lot of new faces. That's 66% of your top 30 have never made it to the top level of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So lots of new faces, lots of new names to get used to.
And as we continue down this schedule, we've mentioned it, the last race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series vehicles for this season. Races 5 through 8 will be utilizing the cars you're seeing right now, the ones using the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. We talked a lot about the differences between the trucks and these O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, and that is proving crucial in this qualifying series. For the first time ever, all 3 vehicles are being represented in the qualifying series. We go next to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars. After that, it's 3 races in the NASCAR Cup Series cars, and we're seeing a lot of these challenges starting to show up, especially next round.
Absolutely. And speaking about the next round, tonight at Phoenix, one of the things about Phoenix is it's known to bring the chaos. Only one Phoenix race has gone caution-free, so the real question is it going to come down to pit strategy or caution luck? Remember, we have an average of 7 cautions per race here at Phoenix, so a lot of action going to be going on here tonight. And Alan, at the end of the day, it's probably going to come down to who could survive the carnage as you see all the crashing happening here.
Yeah, that's a unique aspect of this Phoenix Raceway track. Look, if you're watching and you know about this track in real life, Ryan, you know that they love the cars, the drivers, love to fan out on that dog leg on something like a restart. How real is that in the sim? How effective is that in the sim?
I promise you, it's extremely real. As someone who's been in the middle of 7 wide through the dog leg at Phoenix, there's no sketchier feeling. But Josh, I cannot wait to catch all the action here tonight.
Yeah, getting to see these drivers race tonight at Phoenix is going to be entertaining, and we still have multiple rounds remaining. The next 4 in the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars, then after that to the Cup Series machines. We still got a long road on this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series, but Alan, tonight is going to be the turning point, and we still got 2 more vehicles after these trucks for these drivers to navigate through.
Absolutely. The climb is still there. The ladder climb back to the championship series, or maybe the first time you've ever been to the championship series for many of these drivers. If you are good in the truck series, tonight is the final night to take advantage. It's on a track that has crowned champions. It's on a track that a lot of people know. We're going to Phoenix Raceway, going green for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Round 4 goes green right after this.
Racing isn't just a game, it's a way of life. Every lap, every moment. Practice is about consistency. Winning doesn't come easy.
Yo!
My turn, Bubba.
Dude.
Feel the road. Own the race. Logitech G wheels and pedals available now on Amazon.
best of the best because Ray Alcala no longer stands alone as the only multi-time champ. Wilson is the 25 eNASCAR champion.
Hey, they tried to drag me down, but look who's laughing now. Look who's laughing now. I believe in something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. You know I put in the hours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire. So I see, and I still believe. Take the lead, take the lead, take the lead.
Live from iRacing's virtual Phoenix Raceway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 4 of the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. Well, we are just about 1/3 of the way through the road to $500,000, where the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series trucks will bid their farewell after tonight's contest at Avondale, Arizona. And we're happy, as always, that you're with us here on the iRacing Esports Network with Alan Cavana, Kenneth Bueno, myself, Evan Pasoko. And Kenneth, that's, I think, the main storyline, right? Yeah, we're starting to develop trends on who's good, who needs to pick up the pace, who's jumping splits. But if you came into this series, which will feature all 3 of the NASCAR National Touring Series cars, knowing that the trucks is your strong suit, time to get points and bank them while you can, because we change it all up when we go back racing again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Evan, this is that final opportunity, and the characters that we've seen dominated the Craftsman Trucks portion of the schedule. There might be a different ensemble come a few weeks from now at Homestead in Miami with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series schedule. So it's all about those maximizing points who are good at the division, probably those who are just waiting for the O'Reilly part of the schedule to be able to maximize points on that front and use that to their advantage. So it'll be fun to see what the drivers do tonight.
And Alan, you helped us break it down on Countdown to Green. I think the story with Phoenix is this place tends to be a little bit crazy. So tonight's going to be interesting on if strategy prevails or if this is one of those right place, right time kind of nights.
Certainly you have to proceed with caution because we've seen a number of cautions at this track. I've covered this place in real life when they're trying to crown champions, the 5, 6, 7 wide that you see. This is what this track allows. Potential for passing, also potential for potential cautions, and that strategy. What race do we get tonight? That's what we have to find out in this round 4.
It has been a staple, not only on the Championship Series schedule for so long, but through the old qualifying ladder, and now it remains here in 2026. And Kenneth, again, those 3 cars is one of the highlighted features of this new qualifying format we've been working through this season.
Yeah, before all it was about was being good in one specific vehicle. Now you've got to be diversified. You've got to be strong on all 3 phases of NASCAR competition. And again, like we've said, this is the final round using the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks vehicles. So maximize it all that you can before we change cars in a few weeks' time. You do have that 1 drop round, so whatever becomes your worst finish will be taken out of your full tally. Drivers have been eyeing that throughout the first portion of this season, and that will be dynamic over the course of the calendar. And again, we will have multiple splits, so thousands of iRacers have taken their shot at trying to qualify for the Coca-Cola Championship Series later on this season. All iRacers with that A class license and 2.0 safety rating are eligible, so that's been fun to watch. Again, like we are in this schedule, first third of this schedule is done after tonight from Phoenix, and then we go to a fantastic combo. Homestead in Miami, a multi-groove, tire wear heavy racetrack with some high-powered and low downforce NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars, and that's going to bring in probably the toughest stretch of tracks, Evan, between Auto Club, high speeds, tire wear, Darlington, lots of tire wear and discipline. Bristol, a chaotic short track before we go to Cup racing on April 14th. It's going to be all about who can be the best driver, all 10 toes midway through the season.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see as this season goes all the way through that Texas finale. Texas also critical race in the championship series. So once we get to that point, might be a little bit of a preview too of what we're going to be seeing later on this year. Well, it's been a fun day in the world of iRacing, and that is not just exclusive to the world of eNASCAR, because iRacing Arcade is here and it is available now on Steam. You can buy it starting now at $24.99. It's a third-person arcade-style racing title featuring pocket-sized versions of premier real-world cars and circuits. And Alan, that's my favorite thing, is these are licensed cars, these are licensed tracks. You're going to know your way around them, but you've never raced them like this before.
And you can do multiplayer, you can do the career mode, you can have a lot of fun while looking to have a lot of fun doing it. Real-life tracks, Imola, all that fun stuff. Looking like a fun game. And it's coming to console later, so take your time.
Yeah, you will have an opportunity if you're a console person. PlayStation and Xbox going to follow later this year, but right now it's available on Steam. You can compete in online multiplayer lobbies with up to 11 competitors worldwide, and custom race lobbies against your friends, Kenneth, which I feel like that's going to be a lot of the day one popularity, is a lot of groups getting together.
It will, and earlier on this afternoon, we had a couple iRacing streamers bring in iRacing Arcade for the celebration. They also played some games and races against each other, but this is going to be a fantastic addition to iRacing Studios, being able to put in this bite-sized version of iRacing and give it to everyone across the world. It's going to be great.
QR code bottom of your screen. Get you all the info you need, or go to iRacingArcade.com for more information. We've been talking about it all year long. Happy iRacing Arcade Day to all who celebrate. Excited to see how that game and that platform develops over time and into the future. So if you had your day warmed up with a little bit of iRacing Arcade, maybe you're doing a bit of two and split screen action here watching us tonight, but we are ready to go racing in the desert for the final truck race of this qualifying campaign. We take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid, and it is a pole for Kwame Scott, 26,651. He'll bring us to the green flag alongside an Exodus teammate in John Forbes Jr., who starts in second. Sebastian Marin, previous race winner this year, on row 2 alongside Quincy DeMorman, and then Matt Busa and Garrett Lowe round out the top 6 Chevy lockout of the opening 3 rows. Sean Conklin starts 7th tonight with Wyatt Tinsley in the number 8 spot, and then Tyler Gary and Andrew Navarro, row 5, P10.
Back in 11th is where you'll find another Nexus truck in Matthew Morton, Cody Bias behind him in 12th. Michael Cozy Jr., one of our few Coca-Cola featured drivers tonight. He'll be back in 13th with Kenny Brady. That brand new alliance with Las Vegas Inferno continues into tonight's race from the Arizona desert. Christopher Pfeffer back in the top 15 with Eddie Ball, Eddie Kerner back in 16th, Matthew Baffy in 17th. Garrett Maines, the race winner from last week's action at Rockingham Speedway, will try to go back-to-back from 18th. And then 19th and 20th, Blake Reynolds and Real Fallow with 4-time.
Halfway home, you'll find Graham Bolin in the 48 next to Brian Beccario starting in 22nd. Michael P. Frisch starts 23rd. It's Tommy Gossett in the number 24 spot. Alex McCollum 25th. And then Daytona top split winner Daniel Falkingham in P26. Matthew Boniface will start 27th ahead of Jacob Wilkerson in 28th. At row 15, we'll see Adam Garza and Jacob Harvards.
And here's the final 6. On the grid, 31st goes to Kevin Champagne, Cody Johnson 32nd, Joseph a chance to win one of the high-end splits of Daytona several weeks ago back in 33rd, Octavio Rondeletto 34th, and Blake McCandless last in the field 35th here at Phoenix.
It's your top 35 drivers in a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. More than 1,500 different drivers have attempted to qualify over the course of this qualifying series thus far. And as we get set for the truck finale on this part of the schedule, Alan, let's take a look at our Coca-Cola race analysis.
120 laps tonight around the mile track at Phoenix Raceway. 120 miles, 193.12 kilometers. Pit road speed, they're coming off pit road right now, 45 miles per hour. 3 sets of tires are available. We'll see them use that estimated pit window on fuel, 55 to 60 laps for these cars, drivers, competitors tonight.
And from the longest race of the season mileage-wise a week ago to one of the quickest, but we will see if there is havoc here in Phoenix as there so often is. The pace car down and out of the way. And again, it's a front row view for the 36 machine of Kwame Scott on pole position. The final truck race of this 26 qualifying series campaign. Let's go racing in Phoenix. I thought that was a pretty polite opening lap for Phoenix festivities. Only 2 and 3 wide as the inside cars go all the way down. Use the dog leg, which once upon a time was the backstretch here at Phoenix Raceway. Then back up above the yellow line, the lesser banked into the racetrack for turns 1 and 2.
And it was at one point, Evan, also off limits. There was grass there back then, so it's full asphalt. Everybody's using all of the available track surface, and that's important in these first few laps. And part of why it makes Phoenix such a chaotic racetrack when the trucks and the cars are just bundled up as closely as they are, because everybody wants to go to the bottom. They want to make that first step out ahead of wherever trucks are around them, and then that's where you see those large dives in turn 1, and therefore some of the inevitable contact that happens when you send a truck that deep with someone on your outside. But everyone keeps it clean for right now. Battles inside the top 10, all fruitful at the moment, but of course chasing Kwame Scott, who stepped out in front very quickly.
Single file amongst those first 4. Have to give it up to Seb Marin in that 23 right there. Been the MVP early on in this qualifying series. He's won one of the races, but it seems like every week already, guys, no matter the track, the type, the length, what have you, he has been up there and a contender throughout all of these races. Can't say that about a lot of the drivers, but he has been the MVP of the qualifying series so far.
Consistency, the key. Remember, the end objective for all of these drivers is to finish amongst the top 30 in the points. That will advance you into Championship Series free agency, where you then have to put some of your marketing savvy with the numbers behind it to try to get yourself on the grid of 40 drivers who will compete in the Championship Series starting this summer. On board with one of our Coca-Cola featured drivers. That's the outside line where Michael Cozy Jr. finds himself. To the bottom is the number 5. That's Matthew Morton below him. And again, still utilizing all of the dog leg of the back straightaway as Cozy's in the Hornet's nest. 3 wide up the road as Maines gets out of shape. Your winner from just a week ago slides right up in front of Val Falla. And now Ray Falla stuck in line, nowhere to go up top. So, well, the front of the field gets a little bit of real estate, none for sale here in the mid-pack.
And Evan, right there was a pure example of how pinpoint accurate you have to be in 1 and 2, because it is the shallowest part of the Phoenix Raceway. Is down underneath Brian Mercurio, stepping under the bottom for 3 wide in turn 1. You see how flat it is. You got to stay right tucked up alongside that yellow line on the inside of the racetrack, but because you're either 2 or 3 wide like you're seeing right now, or because you carry so much speed in there, the right front is going to naturally carry the truck up the racetrack. So you got to find a way to pivot yourself mid-apex and then cut as low as you can and get as much throttle in by the time you exit turn 2. You just saw right there with Maines and company battling for position. If you're that truck on the inside, it's not very easy to step out in front without making some of that contact. And near trouble, right on the top of your screen, Michael Cozy Jr. also getting sideways. Now he's in the middle, 3 wide.
Cozy doing his best to try to weather this storm. You saw a quick look at the bottom of your screen there. A second split will be jumping between the top 2 splits in this race. We've mentioned it all season long. Big points available still to the highest of finishers in split 2, in split 3, so on and so forth. So we'll be keeping you up to date with what's going on in that second split of drivers over the course of this race. They also look like they are green since the start of that one. Again, this battle with Cozy on back, and right, Cozy, I'd say he was clear of it, but Alfala on back 18th or so in the midfield. We check back in with your intervals at the front of the field. field. On board with Garrett Lowe on the inside of the racetrack, running exactly where he started this race, but there has been a bit of shuffling in front of him. Sebastian Marin started third. He has dropped to fourth. That's that 23 truck on the inside. John Forbes Jr. has also dropped back a spot. He started second. He's in third. Both of those drops at the advantage of Quinton Warman. That's been the man on the move. The Hayek 67, that white and red truck up the road, picked up 2 spots, but not threatening Kwame Scott. Their race leader has a comfortable 1 second advantage.
And you saw the different approaches there from Garrett Lowe's cam in turns 3 and 4. Seb sticking closer to the wall, Garrett Lowe sticking closer to that line, and then you see him dive down on that dog leg. But different approaches, that's what this track allows. Different grooves as he goes for the pass here. And you can see 3 different distinct grooves in just this one corner at the top of the field.
And also, Garrett Lowe needs a good run tonight, Alan. He's plus 61 to the top 30 cut line. That's 26. We mentioned earlier in Countdown to Green how the spread between first and 20th in this top split can go over 200 points. So Garrett Lowe needs to find as much of a buffer as possible with still a lot of season to go, but you really want to, especially in the first few, step out in front, establish a gap, and then when the drop round comes into favor and all those other factors come into play with different tracks and different cars, then you'll be able to find yourself in a more comfortable position when things get a little bit heavier. So for Lowe, needs a good one, and he started off well so far tonight.
Well, checking in with the live action in split number 2, we talked about Carson Hocevar, NASCAR Cup Series driver, picked up a win earlier this season in the qualifying series in one of the lower splits. Right now finds himself P15 here in split number 2. He's looking up to a battle between Cabe McClenny, Connor Shaw, Carson Bowers, and others. A lot of familiar names as well here. Looking to finish top 5 or so in split 2. That would give you top 30 points over the course of this week. So that's the objective. Carson had missed a week. It's not the end all be all. There is a drop in this 11-week championship. So your worst finish of those 11, it can count as a DNC, as not competing. That can be your drop, but you only get the one. I don't think we'll see Carson put a full campaign together, but those split 2 drivers have to know that every time he shows up, that's a guy who's plenty capable of taking away a lot of big race points. We jump up to the lead in split number 2. Jake Nichols currently the race leader.
And speaking of the different perspective, we just were on board with Garrett Lowe, who needs a solid night as he's on the plus side of it. Carson Hocevar is on the other side. He's minus 27 in 34th going into this race. So a NASCAR Cup Series driver trying to get into the championship series. I know Roger Carruth also competed several weeks ago and won his Daytona split to begin the year. But again, all these drivers trying to make sure they are really the dominant forces as these splits go lower, because like we've talked about, the point split is very different. You're heavy-handed in opening split, but in split 2, you can get a good finish and be basically either better or on par with someone who finished maybe mid-pack and top 20 over in split 1. So for a driver like Seth Knoll, who's also near the bubble at plus 38, this is what you got to do.
So we'll check back in with them in a little bit, but that's currently the state of affairs in split number 2. Back in top split action, jumping back to the battle for 20th position right now as the driver clear is Matthew Bappy. He's followed by the familiar 48 colors of Graham Bolin. Then you got Jacob Wilkerson single file, and then the battle. Blake Reynolds fighting right now with Daniel Falkenham, and 3 wide because to the very outside of the racetrack comes a challenge and a little bit out of shape. The 66 late block there as Reynolds saw the run coming. I think it was Falkenham who tried to get under him on the back straightaway. I don't know if it was a block by the 66. If he got loose, maybe the answer lies somewhere in the middle, but that was a hair-raising moment between those two.
That is a good way to get turned off the front of someone else's bumper if you're Blake Reynolds throwing a block like that. But guys, we see this in real life, right? Where the front of the field looks clean, everybody's trying to do their thing. It's the back of the field, 15th through 25th, where the hardest racing is. It's so much harder back there to get these positions because everybody is fighting for everything they can, and we're seeing it play here out in the qualifying series, just how tough it is. I mean, a guy like Graham Bolin, with his history, with his pedigree in the Coke Series, in the Championship Series, fighting it out for 15th, 20th place. It's tough back there as they try to get every point they can.
Jumping up in the battle for the number 8 position is Eddie Kerner is trying to do some work right now, but the number 20 machine Wyatt Tinsley on the bottom trying to fight back. Advantage to the outside for the moment because Navarro gives Kerner a shove down into turn number 1, only 9 degrees of banking down at this end of the racetrack, so you really got to wait for that thing to rotate before you can get back onto the throttle, but it is a successful, we'll call it a pass for Kerner in the side-by-side. Navarro follows him through up top, and Wyatt Tinsley will now drop in line, hoping to hold off Kenny Brady, the next one who would be on the move. Kerner, one of the bigger movers in the front half of the field. He's been able to pass 8 trucks. That is the most positions gained actually anywhere in the field. I just assumed by default somebody in the 20s or 30s would have had something better, but no, the 8 spots that he's gained, best out of anybody right now here in Split 1.
And he had a fast truck last week at the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Him, Tinsley, and Navarro all finished in the top 10 in their respective places, so they definitely know what it takes, especially over a long run, to try and find themselves forward. But again, lots of work they need to do still with so much of this race left. And for those who really want to be able to get into this series, iRacing.com/eNASCAR/qualifying. Find yourself right here, maybe in the midst of a pack like this, or maybe up front, like a guy like Kwame Scott.
He's on cruise control right now, Alan. Started this race on a pole. He's opened it up to a 1.1 second advantage. That has been somewhat steady. That's kind of as big as it got. It didn't get any larger. But I look back to Rockingham. Now, Phoenix, Rockingham, 2 completely different races. The story of that Rockingham race, though, was on the long green flag runs. The people who were really good early maybe gave it a little bit too much and really started to come back to the field at the tail end of the runs. Different surface, different style of race, but you got to wonder for Kwame Scott, how well is that Sudoku driver managing the pace? Right now, all looks well at lap 25.
It does, and another one of those drivers trying to make that climb back, right, to the championship series. When you've been there, you know what it's like. You know what it's like to have that shot at the $100,000. Now he has to climb his way back in. Looking at, some of the notes, the backstory, he likes tracks like Texas, Chicagoland. Maybe not expecting him to do as well as he is at Phoenix Raceway, but he's out there leading this race, knowing what it's like to be in that championship series. A good finish here tonight in the truck would go a long way toward that.
Made a rookie campaign in the championship series back in 2024. Kwame Scott looking to get back into that if he can be a top 30 driver in the points. Jumping back now and on board with Matthew Morton, scored in the number 15 spot. He has lost a couple of positions from the start of this race. Started 11th. He's down in the number 15 spot right now. Matthew's somebody else who is a familiar name to the world of eNASCAR. He's a 4th-year finance student at Ohio State University, pursuing a career as a financial analyst. We've talked about a lot of the crossover in the world of eNASCAR. Well, he's somebody else who has competed on many of the different platforms that eNASCAR has to offer, but right now he's got his hands full. He's lined right up behind Garrett Maines. What you don't see from on board is the challenger, Michael Cozy Jr., pushing his way to the inside of the 5. That's why he's yielding to the yellow line below him, but is doing a pretty good job of using the outside to hold off Cozy.
And that's a difficult point of the track, Evan, to defend from the outside, is that very shallow turns 3 and 4. The banking helps you a little bit to carry more speed, but it's harder to get up there and be able to carry that all the way through when that wall comes up so quickly. And great for Matthew Morton trying to get back into the championship series after being a reserve driver last season. We saw him compete with the E-Racer team as a reserve driver in the case when they needed a driver to be able to make a start when one of their main drivers had been out for any reason. So great to see Morton back in this series, trying all over again. And speaking of drivers trying their might at the moment to either get in or get away forward, this huge line of trucks all going through. Tommy Gossett back in 28th, and like Alan said, I mean, this is the meat of the sandwich. Really, everyone is in it trying to find every little advantage they can get, especially in this first run. With the way we've seen this race tally so far green, you want to put yourself in a right strategy point, and that means getting ahead of all these trucks. You got to cut your teeth right here.
It is a hornet's nest back here in the high 20s. This group of 7 or 8 trucks just cannot differentiate themselves from one another. Gossett down to the inside under Cody Johnson for 27th on the racetrack. The 2 black Chevys behind them. That was Jacob Harberts and Blake McCandless for position. McCandless got a little bit of damage in an incident on the opening lap of the race with Octavio Rondoletto. It was pretty minor. There was not obviously a need for a caution for it, but there was something on the opening lap of the race that had those drivers up and on the radio, and Tommy Gossett again on the bottom. I think finally is going to clear Johnson for the time being. Johnson setting him up for the crossover. No, he'll jump back in line. Jumping forward halfway down the backstretch and into turn number 3. We're back inside of the top 10. Battle for P9. Andrew Navarro, one of the lead trucks in this battle. A little bit sideways there off of 4.
We've seen Navarro make some noise in the first 3 races of this qualifying series round in these trucks. How will he do when we move on to the O'Reilly's cars, the Cup cars? It's about making hay now, especially on a track like this in Phoenix when you're in the truck. But right there, leading this group, a lot to fend off when you have drivers like Wyatt Tinsley, former Coke Series Championship Series drivers, on your tail. But he's doing a great job right now of holding them off, at least around mid-pack.
Yeah, and Alan, he's talked to us a couple times before and said in some races that he's felt like he's had the fastest truck, but didn't capitalize for the win, but he's always there. And in a series like this, when you've got to be diversified across different cars and you've got the final race of the trucks here tonight, I mean, Navarro has really seized the opportunity. One thing I also wanted to bring up for Navarro, it's kind of funny, I don't know why he does it, but whenever he has a social post in the hours leading up to the race, he always has a screenshot of his truck going backwards on the track. I don't know if that's a superstition for good luck, but it has worked so far in the first 4 rounds. He's watching a great battle behind Kenny Brady on the outside of 3 wide with Cody Bias and Wyatt Tinsley, who's been right in the middle and hasn't been easy for him at all.
4 wide in the mirror is what you want to see.
Yeah, they've tried 4 wide. I thought we were going to see it when we were coming out of the dog leg, but they have kept it to 3 wide for the minute. But Tinsley just kind of stuck in the center, and he called out the driver on the outside. Kenny Brady gets the 2 for 1, passes both trucks engaged in that battle. So a big pickup for the number 54, and he leaves Tinsley at bias just like he found him, and that's 2 by 2. Some drivers going way up to the outside, again, looking for grip, looking for a way to get speed, center off of the corner down there, and the Lesser Bank turns 1 and 2 side of the racetrack. And look at the Wanda machine. Garrett Maines was way up top on that side of the racetrack. Down here, he's going through the middle. Well, we talked and kind of hypothesized out loud with Kwame Scott what was once upon a time a 1-second advantage for the race lead. How is he doing pacing himself? Well, it is clear that the advantage has flipped to Sebastian Marin, your Las Vegas winner. Still in P2, has been checking off about 5 100ths or so per lap the last couple of times around. He's got himself to within, call it 3 truck lengths of the race leader. We'll see if the 23 can get all the way to him and then put a move on him.
We need some Seb Cam. We've seen it the past few weeks. When he is locked on, he gets up on that wheel, and to think that is the leader in front of him, I'm sure we'll see it during the broadcast, but he gets locked up on the wheel, leaning forward. Can't wait to see it. We'll see if we can get the lead and run down Kwame Scott here.
I'm sure Marin is happy about this performance right now because he was on the opposite side of things last week, guys. Remember, he was super quick to start, and then the long green flag run kicked in, and the performance started dropping off a bit. He had to short bit so much throughout that race that he was on the back end of strategy. Now he seems to be on the other end, trying to reel in the race leader, while, again, this battle just continues to unfold. And you just love the way to see the way that inside line has slickened up, Evan. Now the drivers are more comfortable running near that outside wall, and this flatter part of the Phoenix Raceway is really starting to widen up.
And they really need a push up. I mean, you see here those trucks on the bottom crowding the trucks on the outside because they just can't hold it down on that yellow line, especially the way 3 and 4 blend into the start-finish line. You have to swing it wide and then kind of push it right back down and go to the dog leg. The bottom, you cannot hold it down there. So the drivers on the bottom almost dictating how low those trucks on the outside can get and pushing them up to the outside wall. Garrett Maines has got the perspective now with the 2x2. He's maybe a half a lane higher than the trucks in front, but look at everybody right up to the wall at the start-finish line, right back down to the bottom as they head into the dog leg. They're lined up at a 160-mile-an-hour restart, 2x2x2x2, maybe 3 wide for a moment, as that number 20 machine Tinsley's up on the outside trying to get a spot back from Kenny Brady that he just lost from him a few laps ago.
I know Maines is locked in on his camera, but Alan, I don't know if it's more stressful being here in this situation or the situation he was in last week, seeing lap cars get with each other while he was in the lead in the final few laps.
Yeah, look, he looked a little relaxed for being 2-3 wide. You can do that when you have a win under your belt. So I don't blame him for looking a little relaxed, but it's got to be stressful as we take a look at second split as well. We talked about all the potential action you could have. at a place like Phoenix with the cautions, pretty clean so far. I don't want to jinx anything, guys. Both the top split and second split, where we have a lot of talent, of course, up front and racing for these wins. Pretty clean so far at Phoenix, as they're still diving far down on that dog leg 42 laps into a run.
I wanted to bring it up, but I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. So since Alan has opened the door, as Garrett Maines is way up and into the light stuff off of turn number 2, I have been thoroughly impressed, not just by, I know we're only 1/3 of the way through this race, but really all 3 races, Kenneth, that we've had completed thus far, lots of green flag racing, green flag pit cycles. I mean, sometimes top split racing can get a bit of a stigma for being a little bit crazy and out of control, but thoroughly impressed with what we have seen out of the drivers in these top splits all throughout what we've seen so far in the Craftsman Truck Series tenure.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal, to say the least, on that front, just being able to stay disciplined. And although you've seen some aggression here and there, they have kept it to a temperament where they have found the threshold, they've been able to stay near it, but they haven't broken through the ceiling in a negative way. So that has allowed the field to really flesh out the runs. You see the tire wear, and that's what we saw last week at Rockingham as well, that back and forth. Oh no, there it is. The yellow flag out for the first time tonight. And Tommy Gossett, Octavio Rondeletto seem to be involved in it off of turn 4.
So we do get caution flag number 1, lap number 44. So just past the 1/3 distance marker. You can see some smoke as Kwame Scott rolls out of turn number 4. So I assume the forthcoming replay we will see is going to involve something right there near the start-finish line. I mentioned the drivers on the bottom pushing up on that part of the racetrack a few laps ago because that was what the radio chatter was, not necessarily with Rondeletto, but with a couple of the drivers around him, as they had some close calls a few laps prior. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of same conversation of trucks on the bottom pushing up ties into this, because the reason I brought it up was that was what's happening with the drivers in the 30s. Well, cars are headed down pit road for service this time. Gives us to remind you that coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of eNASCAR. And by the Sim Racing Expo. From the Green Hell to the Queen City, the world's largest Sim Racing Expo is racing into Charlotte Memorial Day weekend 2026. So all drivers in top split down to pit road and on the same strategy decision. It is a wrapped pit road on the inside of turns 3 and 4, and off of pit road, Sebastian Marin is your new race leader.
That'll be it. That will be interesting once we see what he can do with the lead, and Kwame not with the lead in terms of controlling the race. We'll take a look at the second split. That's Ben Green. Don't, I already jinxed one race, guys. I don't want to jinx another one. But 48 laps into split 2. Again, these are some of the top drivers in this series with their ratings and everything. Split 2. A lot of talent here, and we are seeing it play out with Seth Knoll on top right now.
It looks very similar to what we've seen in the mid-pack portions of the top split. Drivers, you kind of have to use that dog leg every lap, right? I mean, there's some tracks, I think of some of the intermediates that have a paved apron where, if you're really trying to get under somebody in a certain position, you'll go down to the apron, but it's very much optional. I mean, even here at Phoenix, some of the single-file trucks are still going down to the dog leg just because you can save such a significant amount of time. Really nobody optionally staying above the yellow line for any reason. So that just goes to show you again that you're almost forced into that situation. You may not be comfortable going down there, especially when you're in a battle. It makes it, a 3 and 4 wide scenario, but you almost have to do it out of necessity, because if you're not going down to the apron, everybody else is on the dog leg, and it's going to make your life a lot more difficult. So clean through the opening 50 laps in split number 2, as in top split, looking to go back to the green flag in just a moment. Sebastian Marin had a 0.6 of a second better pit stop. It leapfrogs him to the lead, and he brings us back underway. Good jump as the leaders head down to turn 1. Trouble behind in the top split already. A quick caution.
And it's Ray Alfalla, the 4th time that's involved in that. He was spun off for the nose of one of the Price Chopper trucks in the middle of the group. It was Adam Garza that got into him. And again, we mentioned how wide the racing gets when you step under that white line or the yellow line. You go into the dog leg and you can go 3, 4, 5 wide. They were in the midst of just about 4 wide where Alfalla got tagged.
It has not been a superhero's return for the GOAT, Ray Alfalla. These first 4 races in this qualifying series, that was the big storyline, of course. One of the best to ever do it, coming back, trying to climb his way back. It's been a rough go, as we have a caution now down on split 2, the 53 around.
So Caleb Bryan, the driver who's around, it is going to be no harm, no foul, minus the fact that now both splits have had their first caution to flag of the night, because that thing went around and pointed back straight in no time. But automated caution to flags enabled, as in all iRacing official sessions, and that was enough for automated Barney to throw the yellow flag. So we are going to see in split number 2 basically exactly what we just saw in split 1, and it's going to be everybody who has been out since the start of the race coming down to the pit lane for 4 tires throughout, which means that margins are going to be tight. Could be an opportunity to see maybe a new race leader in that second split. Seth Knoll, the current race leader, wasn't the leader when we first checked in with these guys back on lap number 20, so we'll see what the number 1 truck decides to do, and can he be clean in and out of the pit lane. This is where that qualified position can it benefit you a little bit based on, are you pitting on the straight? Are you in that curved part of the pit lane? And then also, how close are you to that timing and scoring line on pit exit? Historically, number 1 qualifier, number 1 pit stall, the place to be. Here's happened in split number 1. Just a bit of a miscommunication. Looked like the 27 was trying to come across the nose of the 88 machine as they came to the start-finish line. So that is the first caution in split number 1. And then the second caution on the restart. Alfalla pinched to the bottom. Again, a quick 360 spin, and it keeps on going. But both of those enough to bring out the yellows.
And 2 very different scenarios, just trying to predict lanes. Joseph, that front truck of the 3 that were kind of involved, and you saw Gossa get into Rondeletto there, and there's that wall that comes up all the way into the end of pit road that comes up right outside of turn 4. It can catch up very quickly, and drivers really want to get close to it. Garza thought he had a good enough run, thought that potentially Alfalla was going to give him that needed space, but again, it's all defense to turn 1, and then that's where things really open up. So Alfalla tried to shut him down at the door was still ajar, and then Alfalla went around as a result.
The timing of the second caution also allows Quentin Warman to jump to the number 2 position. So it's going to be Sebastian Marin, your leader. Warman scored as P2 at the moment of the yellow. So the dominant truck of the afternoon thus far. Kwame Scott going to be the lowest he's been on the grid so far, restarting from the inside of row number 2 in 3rd. 51 laps complete in Phoenix. Green flag is back in the air.
And let's shout out that 20 truck on row 2 in the back, Wyatt Tinsley. It wasn't long ago we were talking about the battle he was having for, 14, 13, 12. He's now sitting there in 4th after picking off some trucks and then coming out on that restart, and not too bad. We'll see if he can maintain it as Sebastian Marin gets the lead going into 3 off this restart.
Thought that Kwame Scott was going to have a real opportunity to get back to P2. Not the case. Warman shakes it off, gets sole possession a second back, and now Garrett Lowe is on the attack, trying to get down to the inside of Kwame Scott and make it a battle for 3rd. Can't do it yet. That's because Wyatt Tinsley is right there trying to make it 3 wide. They're 3 wide behind them with the likes of Tyler, Gary, and others. But the race is on for 3rd position on back as split number 2 ready to go back green on the bottom.
And Seth Knoll on the outside of row 1, more specifically, so a change in the race lead then, and we saw in the opening stretch just how much tire wear mattered in that second split, with Knoll running from the top 5, getting around Nichols for the top spot, and this time just fighting for his dear life on the outside of turn 2, but he cannot complete the attempted pass. Meanwhile, Kwame Scott is still playing the defense, and again, on fresh tires, you want to be on the inside, so Scott's going to give it all that he's got, but another yellow flag comes out. It's Bappy, Johnson, Kevin Champagne involved in turn 3.
There you see the damaged number 31 machine at Kevin Champagne. Matthew Bappy also will drive by the start-finish line without a rear bumper on that Ford F-150, so trouble in the midfield. In the top split, they get 1. Now they have 3 cautions in the midway portion. Back into split number 2. Watching this battle just behind the 75 of Jose Solis Jr. It's just at the tail end of the top 10.
And Solis Jr., the winner in one of the few splits at Rockingham last week, dominated the last point of that race. And then here's Daniel Nanny, someone who has competed also in the eNASCAR College iRacing series, trying to weave his way through this field. And I love this perspective, Alan, because you see the 2 trucks in front, and then you try to figure out where's the right lane. This dogleg can be a way to differentiate from the pack, but really you find your lane here in the middle, and you just try to back it up and then try to get a good exit to maybe swap under them too on this longer back straightaway.
And Solis is interested because he comes into tonight P20 in the standings. That's a great spot for him. The biggest thing that jumps out to me, though, is last week, Jose Solis Jr., split number 3. We're watching him right now, Alan, in split 2. That's been one of the storylines I've been wanting to look at. Is we'll get a second look at bottom of your screen. What happened in top split? 3 wide, just a little bit too close, and they both have a bit of a light lazy pin up into the wall. But Solis is somebody who's gone from split 3 to split 2. We saw Michael Cozy Jr. start the season in some of the lower splits. He's now in top split. So yes, we've had so many drivers compete, but as drivers drop out of the mathematical scenarios and there's less drivers every week, we see drivers move up splits, and that presents them opportunity and risk. The opportunity is there's more points to race for. Well, the risk is you're going against higher rated drivers. It's probably harder to get a top 5 in split 1 than it is split 2.
We're really in a system of the more success you have, the harder it gets, because the competition gets better. But the fact the competition is better can lead to more rewards. It's a beautifully tough system here to climb this ladder and go from the qualifying series to the championship series. It's all about that top 30, but trying to get there can be so tough if you're not starting out in the top split. But climbing that ladder really is rewarding if you can continue that level of success.
So they are now past the halfway point in split number 2. Thomas Lloyd leading Seth Knoll, Joe Armstrong, John Hall, and Nate Stewart. Your top 5 in split number 2. This battle with Peyton Howell in the 52. Justin, that's another familiar name. Jackson Crowder, a lot of names we've seen in the eNASCAR ladder before. Bottom of your screen, top split. 3 cautions back to back to back. Looking to get back into a rhythm. Marin takes the green, 63 laps from home for the top split drivers on the bottom.
And that's Sebastian Marin with another fantastic restart. Warman is going to play defense, but he's going to be at the top of the summit. 3 wide as Garrett Lowe makes the move through the middle. Kwame Scott aggressive, trying to get back to the P2 spot and cannot complete the attempted pass on the inside. But this is the point just a little before halfway, Evan, where these restarts matter the more, that these cautions come out. So you see the more chaos, you see that trend unfolding, and you tell yourself, all right, I gotta go. Any game position I can get, and any split second before yellow comes out is going to be well worth the fight. And they're nearly 4 wide at the exit of turn 2 with Garrett Maines in front.
You see the top 3, the only ones who single filed themselves out side by side in a race for 4th position on back. Couple of drivers showering the drivers behind them in sparks as they got up against the outside wall. We're side by side in the battle for 4th. Wyatt Tinsley, Kwame Scott, door to door. They're 3 and 4 wide in the battle behind them. This right here, tail end of the top 10, and the center of all of that is Tyler Gary.
Driver who probably didn't have fantastic memories from the Coke Championship race here last season, but is right in the middle of the Hornets' nest. And that's Cody Bias. That black, white, and red truck on the inside has been trying his best to just put his nose underneath and maybe have these drivers shake in the middle of 1 and 2. He's got the underneath on Matt Busa, but this has been great to watch so far, Alan. I mean, all these drivers giving all that they got. And think about all these stories. Garrett Maines, Cody Bias, and several others had to work from the mid-pack to be right here, and even this is on the fringe of top 10.
I love Bias showing us how low can you go. We keep asking the question. He keeps trying to go lower and set a new standard. When you come off that turn, what is it, 1 or 2, and you're approaching that back end, backstretch pit wall, we've seen you can cut it really, really, really close if you want to, and Cody Bias is making this close as anyone we've seen tonight.
Past halfway now in the top split. 58 laps to go. This time by, the three-wide battle continues inside of the top 10 as number 19 machine just on the outside of it runs in P12. We'll take a second look at what happened in split number 2. That's bottom of your screen. Down the back straightaway, the number 30 pulls in line. And I don't know if the 28 thought he was going to go back down or if that 30 lifted a little bit early, but just got into him and sent them into the outside wall. So another caution flag for the drivers in split number 2. One thing I'm noticing as we work under green, Kwame Scott not enjoying the traffic. That 32 really enjoyed being up front, led the first 45 laps of this race uninterrupted. Well, now he finds himself in P5. It has been a slow fall, and he's now dealing, Kenneth, with new challenges here in a bit of traffic, not something he had to deal with in that opening run.
And you know, these drivers, for the most part, have been able to gather their knowledge on these trucks, how they race in traffic, and they already have 3 races before this to figure out how it's already felt like. But when you spend so much of the race in clean air at the front, you almost kind of forget what it's like to be back in traffic, and then you get that first whiff of turbulent air, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I've got to deal with now. And it becomes such a whole discipline of racing on the ovals that these drivers had to really get adjusted to. You watch here, Wyatt Tinsley's on a different lane. Dirty Air's not there when the driver's in front of you is in a different line in the corner, but you really have to back up the entry, because if you send it the same speed as you would in clean air, truck's going to carry up all the way to the banking in the outside wall. So right there, when Tinsley's in front, just got to pivot, slow down the truck, be patient on the throttle, let it roll around, and then finally apply that throttle while staying within drafting distance. As, oh, contact! Ooh. All the way at the back, they nearly had trouble, but everyone keeps it straight. And that's Andrew Navarro right in the thick of all that.
Yeah, Navarro going backwards in this race. Again, it wasn't long ago we were talking about him around 12th, right? He was leading that pack with a lot of action behind him, but once you lose that position, you are back there in that proverbial hornet's nest, and he is trying to fight everyone off in the middle of 3 wide, and we got a spinner up in our top split. The caution is out. 18 truck goes around Blake McCandless, and he just avoids the contact.
It has not been a fun night for Blake McCandless. I've referenced a couple of radio discussions. He seems to just be around all of them, and that time he was on the outside. He couldn't give him any more room, but it looked like the trucks below him got together. And again, you're in a vulnerable spot when you're that outermost truck. And McCandless is going to have some significant damage. So many of the accidents so far in top split have seen just the truck go for a quick spin. That's some of the more significant damage we have seen. So McCandless almost certainly going to be forced to the pit lane. There are some takers, though, to pit road in the top split. Remember, everybody pitted together after the first caution about 45 laps in. Well, now everybody down pit road again, 52 to go. They could be thinking maybe this is the last trip to the pit lane for some of these drivers on the night. We'll see if that's the strategy call. They can certainly do so with the fuel they have on board. They'll restart with less than 50 laps to go. Meanwhile, in split 2, it's a restart at 49 to go. Thomas Lloyd still the lead truck as they're back underway.
How about Thomas Lloyd taking back control of this race when it was in the reins of Seth Knoll for a little while, and Nicholas had fallen back just a bit, allowed Thomas Lloyd to step right into the foreground and make an impression. And Joe Armstrong, a winner in one of the splits at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the second round of this 2026 season, is starting to work well in this top 3. But you gotta love where the restarts go, where all these lines are really at use and everyone's just doing whatever they can to find any amount of grip. And they're still gridlocked as Seth Knoll is gonna take it bottom 3 wide for the lead.
Second look at the accident for the top split on the bottom. Again, McCandless third lane, couple of trucks below him crossing each other over, and they just got into his left rear a little bit, unsettled that truck, put him into the wall. Up front, though, here comes Knoll trying to hold off Joe Armstrong on the bottom. That white and green Toyota can't lead at the stripe, but Armstrong not going to roll over. Tucks back in line, will hit the reset button to try again. Looked like Lloyd almost tried to go to the bottom. He was boxed out. John Hall in fourth, and the 03 machine jumped underneath him. That's the battle 2x2 for third position on back, as Armstrong can't get back to Knoll. At least a temporary reprieve for the one truck.
And I'm just looking through the top 10 here in Split 2. Ninth right now, the 36 of Tyler Latterell. We have talked about him each week. He's making a little noise, not necessarily in the top split, but in the countdown to green, we saw the point standings. He is making hay in races other than the top splits, but still gaining a lot of points each week, being very consistent on his way to another potential top 10 and really helping himself in the point standings when you're not in that top split, as we're going to see a restart here with 51 to go coming off the pit road.
First caution of the day. Kicked off a rash of 3 in a row. What is the complexion going to be like for the final 50 laps of this race? Reynolds gets off and away. Kevin Champagne does not. Champagne all kinds of out of shape as one of the 2 drivers who did not pit, and there's trouble. Kwame Scott into the outside wall. Garrett Maines is damaged as well. And every time you have a driver, in this case 2, stay out and on old tires, there's always a risk, Kenneth, and it was a chain reaction to the poor start up front, and Kwame Scott, the first auto man out, that thing is destroyed.
That's what you call bottlenecking in the middle of traffic. When those 2 older tire trucks move out in front, they go into turn 1, they just don't have the bite into the braking zone, so all the fresh tire trucks come up, and then it just ricochets, and it just continues to build up like a snowball in the middle of the field, and unfortunately it was at the hands of Kenny Brady that was diving middle 3 wide. Bit of miscommunication there on the lines for entry to turn 1, and then Kwame Scott, who's had such a great race to start, now has to work from the back of the field like he did last week at Rockingham Speedway, as another caution comes out in split number 2 with Seth Knoll at the front. Him and Armstrong, Allen, making a daring move on the dogleg 3 wide for the lead, and it works out for Seth.
Some of the most aggressive racing has been up front in this second split, and it's been really fun to watch. It just shows you that the importance, and we saw what happened in split 1 when Kwame Scott lost the lead and control of the race, how important it is to maintain that. Seth Knoll is showing us that in the second split. Meanwhile, back to the top split, 49 to go. Blake Reynolds was able to keep the lead, but certainly a lot of contenders behind him on those fresher tires. Seeing a few caution laps roll away here, but Garrett Lowe, Quentin Warman, Sebastian Marin of all people just kind of, rubbing their hands together, waiting for this restart, trying to get that lead back with the better tires.
We kind of knew that this might be part of the conversation, and you guys broke it down in Countdown to Green, the comparisons to prior races here at Phoenix, where the average number of cautions we've seen in eNASCAR competition over the course of the last decade is about 7. The most we had seen, the 2023 Championship Series race here had 14 of them. This race has had a bit of both, right? We had a long green flag run to kick things off. Everybody pitted together, and for the most part, everybody has agreed on strategy up until recently. This most recent trip down to the pit lane saw both Blake Reynolds and Kevin Champagne not come to pit road, so they're out on old tires. And then for the drivers who did come down pit road, not in agreement on strategy there either. Garrett Lowe, who runs right now second on the racetrack, the number 15 truck came down pit road, only took 2 tires. Quentin Warman, who runs behind him on the racetrack, he came down to the pit lane and decided to take 4. So this has been the real first opportunity in this race as you see more trouble for split number 2 on the bottom. This is the first time here in the top split where we really have a divergence of strategy.
And you think about what strategies are laid out the first part of the battle, the second half of who's it coming from. And for Reynolds, who's -7 to the top 30 heading into this race, he needs a haymaker, and after starting 19th, he hasn't been able to find headway. So, Evan, this is the call he's going to have to make past halfway if he wants any shot. All these yellows come out, it's going to give him more time to be able to think about pit road and have fresh tires with the rest of the field. So Reynolds is taking this shot, and it worked out on the restart. Let's see if it works out this time.
Coming to a restart with 46 laps to go. It's no tires, 2 tires, and 4 tires in your top 3. Green flag back in the air. Reynolds gets off and away. It's a good jump for the drive of the 16 machine. Look at them already start to fan out 3 and 4 wide behind. Drivers want to put their new tires to use. Here comes Warman on the bottom. Got a little bit loose, though. Can't get there this time. Puts a big block on Garrett Lowe.
really good from Blake Reynolds to maintain the lead even thus far. I mean, yes, it's going to be tough to maintain the lead for the next few laps, but the most he can hope for is that they can run long enough that he can still have some of that track position where if a caution were to come out, the entire field would want to come down and get that final set of tires, or for him, an extra set. But if he can maintain just something in the top 5, top 10, that will be a payoff for Blake Reynolds. And right now, he's maintaining the lead on lesser tires than all the fast trucks behind him. See how far he can do this for. Sebastian Marin all over him.
So while split number 2 is under the caution flag, we go big box for the top split, 3 wide, outside of the top 10, inside of the top 5, you name it. It is go time inside of the final 50. Marin continuing now to lead this race after being able to get around Reynolds, who falls to 4th, and that's going to continue to trickle down the running order as the 66 is on old tires up top. In that yellow numbered 66 truck, he's going to continue to go backwards. Warman is through to 2nd. Tinsley is through to 3rd and lost in all of this entirely. Remember, Kwame Scott torn up in the accident previously. The truck who's led the most laps in this race now down in 34th and a non-factor.
It's all going to be about damage control from here on out for Kwame Scott, and then hope for some more chaos that he doesn't happen to be involved in. If he can get away from the skirmishes and find his way around some lapped and damaged trucks, that will be just a saving grace for him right now. But the way this field has turned the aggression knob up ever since that first yellow, it has been night and day in contrast between the two. Eddie Kerner getting aggressive, a large send on the inside of turn 1, a slide job on Garrett Lowe, and now Tyler Gary, who was nearly making things 4 wide on the restart, him and Blake Reynolds in the battle.
And an update from split number 2, where they have had several cautions in restarts. A black flag penalty to the driver who was scored in the number 2 position on the most recent restart by beating the control truck to the line. Of course, it's the leader who in the restart box decides when the race goes back green. That second place truck beat the leader to the stripe. That's all handled automatically by the iRacing penalty system. And that driver is going to be receiving an end of the longest line penalty. So from second to dead last in line, which is probably somewhere in the low 30s. Behind where that happened, here's the incident off of the restart. That 54 truck went low early. It opened the door in the middle. And again, you're at the point in the race, inside of 50 to go, where if there's an opening, someone's going to jump on it. It is all take, no give. We're at that point in the race, and split number 2, again, still currently under the caution flag for the incident that you just saw.
And that's the mentality past halfway, Evan, is that you think if this race is going to step into a long green flag run and I don't have this position, what are the chances I'm going to be back in that position to be able to go underneath or on the outside of a driver and step right in front for an extra couple of points that will matter big time, especially here in this final race with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck machines. So everyone's going to give it all that they've got as we watch battles inside the top 15 for split number 1. And then here's the restart for split number 2. It was Joe Armstrong, by the way, guys, a very hefty driver in that second split race, now having to deal with a large setback in the final half. It's not going to be easy.
I think the challenge is he just doesn't have time, as there's trouble in the back of the field in split number 2 back into the caution. To have a setback like that late in this race, Alan, going to make Armstrong's night extremely difficult. Same for anybody who has trouble at this point in the race in the top split. You just don't have the margin of error anymore. He never really did in a 120-lap race. It's not that long, but certainly in the final third.
And certainly you don't want to be about 15th and running 4 wide with 37 laps to go. But we've seen, look, the different strategies, whether it was tires, whether it was just the ability to make your way through the field. It has really jumbled up this field and put some names in that we didn't see quite earlier, the Eddie Kerners of the world. Matthew Morton working his way back up to the top 10, and that means some of these drivers have had to drop back, so there are fast trucks trying to make their way back through the field, maybe on some better tires, but it is a mess back there. You can see the aggression as the laps are winding down.
And think of the way this race has unfolded, not in the right way, Evan, for a lot of the heavy hitters at the top of the points table. I mean, Garrett Maines, we saw him for a bit in the mid-pack, but he's now back in 30th with 35 laps to go. Andrew Navarro at the back end of that shot not that long ago was going sideways in turn 3, saving the truck. He's all the way back in 22nd. It has not been the night for some of those high-hitting drivers. The only one is Sebastian Marin, who's made use of the opportunity right now.
Hey, John Forbes Jr., quiet tonight, started second. He's 26. Sean Conklin started 7th. Quiet night for him for bad reasons. He's down in 21st, so a lot of drivers have struggled. And Sebastian Marin, 33 laps away this time by from trying to be the first multi-race winner this season in the top split of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series. We saw Daniel Falkenham win the top split opener in Daytona. We saw Sebastian Marin win in Las Vegas. And then it was Garrett Maines last week at Rockingham. 3 races, 3 different winners. Does Marin buck that trend? He's somebody who comes into tonight 3rd in the points, but 387 above the cut line. That's the more important number. Still a lot of work to be done, but an incredibly successful start to the season for him, and Quinton Warman would love to add his name to the winner tally. 7th in points coming into this race. 3/10 off of the leader, hasn't led a lap yet in this race, and I'll give him and Tinsley credit. They're not letting Marin get that far away. Jacob Wilkerson back in the number 8 spot gives you a good look at your top 10 as trouble behind your leaders with another caution flag, as it is Graham Bolin who has gone around.
Rough night for the veteran. Again, one of the drivers who's been a staple in the Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series, trying to make his way back. And now he is having trouble here in round 4 at Phoenix in the truck. Here's the restart in the second split. Seth Knoll back out front, fighting off all contenders. Let's see if he can do it again on this restart, Evan.
32, now 31 laps to go for the drivers in split number 2. Basically directly on pace with what we're seeing in split 1. Knoll is clear to turn 1. Thomas Lloyd is not. John Hall, the driver in the white, pink, and blue Ford, the aggressor in the battle for second. Bottom of your screen, here's what happened to Bolin. On the bottom, squeezes the truck up high, and right there, they just kind of got locked together, and that's a 50-50 play. 2 trucks get stuck together like that. One's going to spin out, one isn't. Bolin unlucky in that case, and now everybody but 2 drivers pitting in top split again. They were all on pit road only 20 laps ago.
Yeah, just a mirror image of what we saw earlier on in this race. As the 3 wide continues to unfold with John Hall on the very inside, pointed to what's going on between drivers like Dylan Bates and now even Thomas Lloyd, or Dylan Basin and Thomas Lloyd in the battle for second place right behind them. Again, it's all about the aggression. With 30 laps to go, you're going to give it everything you've got. Sometimes you're going to push over that line, and then you're going to have minor contact that, especially off turn 4, is very dangerous.
Again, with 30 laps to go here in the second split, we saw the top split drivers all going down pit road. Many of those drivers, for the last time, at least for the tires that they want, right? There were 3 sets available per our race analysis, and so they're going down pit road for the final time for those tires. Here back in second split, we're looking at currently battle for 14th. Caleb Bryan in that number 28 truck, way down on the bottom right now, trying to fight on that bottom groove as they head down toward the backstretch here at Phoenix.
Carson Hocevar just ahead of this. We checked in with the NASCAR Cup Series driver earlier in this race. He was 15th. He's picked up a little bit, 11th, so he's just ahead of this battle as Caleb runs in the number 14 spot directly alongside Carson Bowers to his outside, and they have a caution with 28 laps to go. I can tell you it wasn't from the top 13. There's no trouble in front of him, so the issue comes from further back in the field. In split number 1, they are getting ready to go back to the green flag, and we have another gamble of strategy. Tommy Gossett, Rocky Boyd, Garrett Maines all stay out, so 3 trucks do not come to pit road. The first truck off of pit road on fresh tires is one Christopher Pfeffer, 2 tires only. He'll take up the number 4 spot on the grid. That's the black number 30 truck. And then Sebastian Marin, who was starting to count down laps to win number 2 on the year. He's the first truck on 4 fresh tires. He restarts from the inside of row number 3 in the number 5 spot. So it is a dealer's choice of strategy. At the front of this field, top split coming to 28 to go.
The best thing going for that 88 of Tommy Gossett is at least he has a little bit of buffer, but you could see Marin trying to make as much as he can on the bottom line with those fresh tires. I don't know how much Gossett has in terms of time left in the lead, but maybe it could lead to some good track position as Marin coming off too, already with the lead on those fresh tires.
That was super impressive move from the third row to the race lead in less than a mile. Sebastian Marin back to P1. Is this going to work out? 4 wide in the battle for 5th on back as the drivers on old tires get disposed of. Trouble with Garrett Maines. He's high. He's clear of it. It's Kerner getting worked out of shape. He and Warman almost got together. They file not so efficiently into line, but they get away with it. And after a hair-raising 2 laps off the restart, Marin is back to the lead, and it is Wyatt Tinsley punching through to P2.
And it's not done yet. That's Rocky Boyd, the third in the middle of 5 wide. Entering turn 1. That was such a disastrous place of the racetrack, Alan, to be in. Middle 3 on the oldest set of tires in the field. And now trouble. Andrew Navarro gets spun around on the back straightaway. Blake Reynolds right behind. And that is a killer for Navarro. No yellow until now. Matt Busa, Kenny Brady, parking lot off the final corner.
Oh, and that all just starts from the restart. I know it's been a few laps, but Rocky Boyd just dropping like an anchor throughout the field. Everybody trying to avoid him. He had the oldest tires in the field. Looked like he had no tires on that truck. And it really feels like the chain reaction cost drivers a lot because of that decision.
That was the longest, slowest, but fastest wreck I think I've ever seen. It just would not materialize.
You just saw it coming. You saw it coming.
And I thought we got away with it 3 or 4 times. We did not. Second split getting ready to get underway. I want to remind you again, NASCAR 25 is now available. It's NASCAR's official video game that features 40-player online multiplayer on more than 30-plus laser-scanned NASCAR tracks. It's available on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. Get in the game with NASCAR 25 today. So while the leaders in split number 1 pace, we check back in with split number 2. 23 laps to go for Seth Knoll, controlled truck from the inside of the front row. Green flag back in the air. He's cleared at turn number 1. Can Thomas Lloyd defend a challenge for second? He was not able to last time. He can't do it this time. Dylan Basin, aggressive dive to the bottom, trying to make it happen. The bottom of your screen, let's just watch this unfold. It started as 5 wide and eventually turned into a wreck at the complete opposite end of the racetrack.
This is like watching dominoes fall. I mean, you see the first ones topple. You know it's going to come at the very end. It starts here with Navarro there entering turn 3, but this is where the mess ensues. That is Brian Mercurio in the middle. Kenny Brady getting turned to first, bobbles off of another truck, and at that point, it's just everyone trying to survive. But when there's such limited space, when they're literally 5 wide on a straightaway, Alan, I don't know how you can get out of that.
Not even at Phoenix, where we've seen 6, 7 wide, but not when they're racing at that point on the racetrack. It's just, again, a slow developing, but you saw it coming, and it's tough this late in the race, especially in the top split where the points are at the most premium. Down here in the second split, the action just as tough, the racing just as wild, as we see still 2, 3 wide near the front of this field. Seth Knoll has been fighting off all challengers, but with 21 to go, still plenty to do before he gets this victory.
In the way that this race has been trending, is this going to go green for these drivers in split number 2 to the end of the race? The way the last half of the race has gone, the numbers would suggest no. If you're Seth Knoll, you just nailed a restart. You had a little bit of help because Basin slowed down Lloyd a little bit, battling for second. Do you really want to try to burn it all up, or do you try to play a little bit of gap management here and not allow yourself to get too far out in front, because you may have to save that truck and do another restart procedure all over again? You've got all this 2x2 also inside of the top 10 with Latterell on back. So plenty of battles still up for grabs. Carson Hocevar, that's the number 6 machine, 3 wide in the center. P8, I think, is the highest we've seen him at any point in this race. So he's trying to take advantage of the late yellows.
And he's doing a great job cutting the way through the field. And, that's that balance you got to really weigh in as a driver is what do you have to do? Are you going to be aggressive now, or do you think it's going to be a long run where if you save a bit of those tires, it will matter? There's a big crash. That's Nate Stewart right off of the dogleg and hard into the wall just as top split is going green in turn 1.
So trouble involving some of the top running cars in split number 2. We'll get a replay in a minute. Carson Hocevar, one of the drivers involved. Meanwhile, in split 1, 20 laps to go this time by a moment in the midfield. Somebody got all kinds of out of shape. I think it was Wilkerson in the 7. Reels it in. They're 3x3x3. I don't know how long this is going to last. There's Wilkinson in the center. The 43 is out of shape. Big save there. Now trouble. Spinner to the apron. Jacob Wilkerson again now out of shape. It's him in the 19 truck who is down on the apron. He's okay for now, but they're not in front of him. It finally falls apart. Daniel Falkenham was at the start of it, and Cody Bias is ripped up.
What a sequence. And all less than a lap. We're going to have to see the replay. I don't know if frustration is growing amongst these drivers, but throughout the last few weeks, we have been praising the skill, the attitude of these top split drivers. We are not seeing it late in this race here at Phoenix.
So under the caution flag in both split number 1 and in split number 2 gives us a great opportunity to talk once more about iRacing Arcade, which is available right now. As of today, it is available on Steam. You go to iRacingArcade.com or scan the QR code on your screen for more information. You can rise from rags to riches in the extensive career mode as you build a fully customizable motorsport campus with garages, engines, chassis shops, and our R&D buildings and more. We already talked about the online multiplayer part of it earlier, Kenneth. That, I think, the career mode, super intriguing to me.
Yeah, it's going from the brokest of broke to having a racing empire and having it all at your fingertips with all of these licensed cars. I mean, these are licensed tracks, so you can have a familiarity with it if you've raced iRacing before, but it adds a new level of fun to it. And I think for anyone that's getting into racing games, pick up iRacing Arcade, and that's a great way to grab a controller, get going, and have a lot of fun. So here's a look at the replay. I mean, I like to think of the 7 as a relay race going backwards, right? It's everyone trying to give away 3 and 4 wide to the mid-pack, and then it just continues to transfer. And right about here, Cody Bias, that midway truck, the VRS truck, gets into Jacob Wilkerson, and then that kicks off the entire sequence. Falkingham getting in it. Andrew Navarro, who got involved in a recent crash, also gets tagged late, and really no one can survive the mess.
Great shot there of just how narrow this track gets. Yes, we talk about the 6-7 wide potentially that we see, but how narrow Phoenix gets and how narrow it gets so quickly. We saw that there in the replay.
And it's tough, right? You look at those moments and it's easy to say, make smarter decisions, but if you're not putting somebody in an uncomfortable position and you decide to just kind of hold your lane, someone's going to do it to you. And it is all that take and no give late in a race. It's to be expected, and that's why we've seen a lot of late race cautions at both the top and the second split. Both splits getting ready to go green. We'll start with split number 2. 14 laps to go. Seth Knoll gets another great restart. He's nailed 2 of them back to back and is clear of the chaos to turn number 1. Basin and Lloyd, they'll fight for second once more. Latterell and Nanny in a battle for 4th position behind them, but that is mission accomplished for Seth Knoll to get out in front of the chaos. On the bottom of your screen, Sebastian Barron wants to do the exact same thing. He needs a good restart. He's got one. Top split, green flag in the air, 16 to go.
You see those 2 situations, Alan, and that's mental fortitude from the race leader. It can be so easy to make a mistake, either spin the tires or just get a faulty restart. You don't catch the opponents off guard. Both Marin and Noel took care of business, and that's what you have to do when these races turn to caution heavy.
Great stuff at both the front of these fields. With those jumps, it's now they are being the hunted, right? I mean, both Noel, and Marin. We have another incident in our top split 66 truck around. Not sure if that brought out the caution or not. Blake Reynolds What a night. We've cautions out in the top split. What a night for Blake Reynolds in that 66 as the action. We may see another one here in the second split, guys. 12 to go.
And I also think a lot of other drivers got some subsequent damage from the checkup. Blake McCandless got damaged. The 41 machine behind him got a little bit of damage. So trouble for maybe Kwame Scott and others. Brian Mercurio, as that thing may have snowballed a little bit in the top split. Replay up on the bottom of your screen, squeezed into the wall again. That's the wreck. But there was so much three wide behind them that the truck who spun, probably the one who gets away with the least amount of damage. Three wide here in split number 2, and the 29 of Massey had to get way out of the gas, and a caution will fly just on the outside of 10 laps to go. So split 2 going to be set up for another late race restart, and Seth Knoll will again have to try to stay picture perfect on the restarts. He has done so successfully to this point in the second half of that race.
I didn't want to believe it, guys, but the announcer jinx has to be a real thing. Do you remember there was a point in this race where I mentioned there wasn't much going on in terms of caution and aggression? Man, did I blow it.
The single few words that changed the event. Oh, man.
Well, here's where we stand for this fourth week of this qualifying series campaign and the last race that will show the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series trucks. We will take next week off for the build week, and then it is every single week, 7 weeks in a row, until we know on April 28th the 30 drivers who will join free agency. But the O'Reilly cars, KB, that's what's up next.
Yeah, and not entirely easy tracks to drive either, with those cars that have a lot of horsepower but also carry much less downforce than these Craftsman truck machines do. So you go to Homestead in Miami, a track that's known to be very hot in track temperature, multi-groove racing, high tire wear. Auto Club is the same but at a higher drafting scale, so it's going to be about half-pack racing, half discipline. And then Darlington, I mean, that is the track too tough to tame. That's why it has that nickname. It's such a difficult track to master, and so I think I'm really excited about this O'Reilly part of the schedule, because that is going to test the skill and discipline of the drivers who have either never been in the championship series before or are going to be dead set on going back to the series in 2026.
Darlington will make or break a few drivers, maybe their even entire qualifying series run, but the O'Reilly car at a track like that, up against the wall, the tank-like damage that you can get the stripe, but you can't get too many stripes there. I'm looking forward to that one. Looking forward to the end of these two races in both our top splits here, because a lot of action, a lot of good talent and speed up front, but they have so much coming from behind. It's hard to keep them off.
Replay what happened in split number 2 on the bottom of your screen, and again, it's just 3 wide. No single driver to me in that does anything egregious, but it's just, you talk about the track narrowing up. They really widen out through the dog leg. There's plenty of room down there in 1 and 2, but you can't really exit turn 2 super low to get onto the backstretch. They compress up into each other, and fortunately one driver ends up as the on-track out, and both of the top 2 splits are looking at late race restarts. In top split, Sebastian Marin has led a race-high 54 laps. He just wants to put a bow on a potential second win of the season. It's another good restart, and Quinton Warman wastes no time dropping down to P2. Bottom of your screen, second split going for the green flag also, but up top, Wyatt Tinsley trying to get under Warman for second, couldn't do it.
And that's a smart move by Quinton Warman, guys. He clears, lets Marion step out in front, because as long as he stays side by side, he's going to let Wyatt Tinsley in the inside, and it's going to be an even worse situation for him. So it's a high IQ, step out, let Marion take the top spot, and then settle in second, defend what's going on behind you, and then you can just now plan your attack on Sebastian Marin for the top spot.
Coca-Cola feature drivers find themselves together. They started this race together in the low 20s. Now they're in the low teens as Ray Alfala and Michael Cozy Jr. are nose to tail in 13th and 15th spot. There's 3 wide in front of them, so they're trying to knock their way inside of the top 10. Up front, Marin, 3 truck lengths over Warman in second, Tinsley third, Kerner fourth, and then the battling is from about 5th position on back, where Conklin and Gary for Dewey battle. In split number 2, 5 laps to go for Seth Knoll, trying to hang on for this win.
And we're seeing good pursuits from these drivers trying to track down the leaders. We see him close in as we get into some of these corners, but it's the drive off for Seth Noel, the drive off for Seb Marin, that's really extending the lead and keeping that buffer there as the laps wind down in these races.
And I know what we're thinking, but I will not say it out loud, but he is counting down these 1 mile laps. They feel a lot longer than the stopwatch at 27 seconds is going to say, and he can't really get too focused on that. He's still got a mounted defense. Thomas Lloyd is within 3 truck lengths, and any little bobble, open that door, and the 21's going to be all over. 3 laps to go in this race. Noel, I think, picked up a little bit of ground that lap.
You know, Evan, this track is not as slick as it can be here at Phoenix because it gets very hot. Track temp in most of these sessions at 94. And for Seth Noel, I mean, he's watching Thomas Lloyd. This track with so much energy put in from all the trucks, you can easily get sideways. You can easily get too understeering and let Thomas Lloyd get into it. But Seth Noel trying to complete what's been so far a flawless back half through all of the chaos, all of the restarts. He's kept his patience, and that is what makes a driver great, is when you can do that and not falter or crack with 2 laps to go.
We are under the caution flag in split number 1. We'll rejoin that action once things wrap up here. But Seth Noel, who comes into tonight not in a qualifying position into points, trying to use week 4 to spearhead and turn around his qualifying campaign. White flag flies. We are official in split number 2. It has been Noel and Lloyd, often side by side on the front row. Restart after restart. And Seth has been able to stay in front. Is there anything that the 21 truck can do from the number 2 spot? He is not close enough to get to the bumper, and Seth Noel is a split 2 race winner here in Phoenix.
Had such a great job coming in 27th in qualifying series points. That's plus 38. You can think of how much of a gain he has just from this alone. To lead as many laps as he did, to push out in front and to win this race. I mean, that is called securing at least a bit of your fate above that cut line heading into the O'Reilly part of the schedule.
And just so well earned, so well defended. He certainly had his challengers, and to pull off the victory because he earned it and drove away from the rest of the field.
And now he's got some celebrating to do. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Seth Noel is your week 4 split 2 winner. And that's big, guys. Last week, he was in top split. So getting cycled into split number 2, big risk for him. But he'll end up scoring more points than probably 4/5 of the guys in top split, courtesy of that win. That's talking about making a statement and not letting that cycle by putting you into split number 2 for this week based on the drivers that showed up, holding them down. Great showing for Seth Noel, a race winner at Phoenix Raceway. Well, we'll jump back to top split coverage where we are under the caution once more, and much like split 2, have a similar story where in this case it has been Sebastian Marin time after time holding off Warman and Tinsley, and he's going to have to do it at least one more time. It is not eNASCAR overtime, but it is a green-white checker coming to 2 laps to go when we get the green.
Quentin Warman's got a very big mission on his shoulders. He has to let Wyatt Tinsley not get to the inside off the restart, but he needs to be close enough to Marin to prop up a charge, maybe a bump and run if he's close enough in the final few laps. As for 3rd and 4th, I mean, Kerner and Tinsley have been strong all race long. They have shown shimmers of brilliance. Can they be aggressive when it matters most in these final few?
I'd love to see what Tinsley can do. He has been climbing his way through. It's a bit of a surprise to even be there in this position right now. He has shown the ability to drive up there. We just have to see how much aggression he has. But Seb Marin has fought and won every battle so far. Let's see what Sebastian can do as we go green.
He's been the dominant truck in the second half of the race. He gets another good restart, but Warman may be closer than he's ever been. On the bumper, looks high, will wait in line. It's critical that he doesn't get a challenge from Kerner or Tinsley. Wyatt looking for the quarter panel. can't get there, and now Warman could try to go to work on the leader.
And that was the best case scenario for Warman. He had Tinsley kind of back up on the restart, a sluggish go around for Tinsley as they went through the restart zone. So Warman didn't have to worry about any pressure in the rearview mirror, and he could just solely focus on the man ahead with him right now. White flag from Phoenix, and he's within a car length.
Tinsley watches on from third. Is he close enough? Should the race leaders come together? Warman a little bit quicker off of turn 2. He's going to be within a half a truck length as he make a move. Stays in line. Drives it in deep, but just like in split 2, it's too little too late from behind. And Sebastian Marin, your first repeat top split winner of the qualifying series.
Said it earlier in the race. The MVP. Oh, a little love tap there. But yeah, before this race, he'd really been kind of the MVP of the qualifying series so far. Now adding another win to his resume just shows how versatile and good he is in this series.
We talked a lot early about Kwame Scott, who led 45 laps and then got cycled out. And Sebastian Marin was the one who weathered the storm of the different pit strategies, all of those restarts. Your Coca-Cola move of the race was him getting just enough out of the last one. It was not his best restart, Kenneth, we saw in the second half, but it got the job done. He got clear of Quinton Warman, and with only 2 laps to go, even though Quinton was there, he was just left with so few opportunities to do something about it.
It's so underrated on iRacing and in the level of racing, how pressure-filled a situation like that is to be the race leader with several laps to go. You know that a bad restart will change the complexion of the race entirely and throw away a chance at what has been a dominant last bit for Marin. But he handles business. He gets that just bit in front of Quinton Warman, who was taking advantage of the bobble from Wyatt Tinsley, and he gave it all his might in those final laps. But Sebastian Marin doing what he does best, and also taking advantage of some of those struggles by a Daniel Falkingham, an Andrew Navarro, and a Garrett Maines to try and go at it for the points lead.
So a win in Las Vegas, a win in Phoenix. Sebastian Marin already was solidified as one of your top contenders, but dominance continues for the driver of the number 23 machine, 2-time race winner in 4 starts here in the 2026 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series, burning it down, celebrating on the front straightaway. And something tells me that truck might end up in victory lane here at Phoenix, one of the few tracks at iRacing you can do that. What a drive for Sebastian Marin. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola race results. We will start with second split, where you saw Seth Knoll lead an Exus teammate Thomas Lloyd to victory lane in a Chevrolet 1-2. Dylan Basin, Tyler Lateral, and Peyton Howell came home inside of the top 5 with John Hall, Daniel Naney. You got Noah Bitts, Jackson Crowder, and Justin Campbell, your top 10 finishers. A lot of names. Hocevar, one of them, top 10 position late, but either the second or third last yellow of the night took them out. So a lot of big names who had good nights there in split number 2 will not get the points to reflect that. Now we'll take a look at your full race results here for split number 1. Marin goes on to lead a race best 66 laps en route to victory lane with Quinton Warman in second. Wyatt Tinsley in third. Eddie Kerner picks up 12 spots to finish 4th ahead of Matthew Morton in the number 5 spot. Sean Conklin comes home P6. John Forbes Jr. in 7th. Tyler Gary is 8th. Garrett Lowe is 9th. And your biggest mover in the field, Adam Garza, sneaks in for a top 10.
Back there in 11th is Garrett Maines, who did recover nicely after a bit of a rocky second half. Kenny Brady in 12th. Michael Cozy Jr., one of our Coca-Cola feature drivers, in 13th. Tommy Gosson, was involved in a crash tonight, still got a top 15 out of it. 15th for Michael Frisch. Jacob Wilkerson, 16th. Andrew Navarro definitely wanted more out of this Phoenix outing. He is 17th. Ray Alfala, 18th. 19th to Christopher Pfeffer. And Ron DeLetto rounding out the top 20.
That'll bring it down to Kevin Champagne, who ends up 21st position in this race. Blake McCandless, P22. I think he'll take it. He was involved in a couple of the incidents tonight. He's ahead of Cody Johnson, then Bias, 23rd and 24th. Brian Mercurio in the number 25 spot. You got Rocky Boyd. Kwame Scott, your pole sitter, led 45 laps, but once he lost the top spot, it all fell apart. Reynolds, boosted Boniface, your top 30.
There's the final 5 or 6. Joseph, Falkingham, Harberts, Bolin, McCullum, and Baffy struggling here from Phoenix. That's the full 36 truck field.
Let's head down and chat with your race winners. It'll start with Alan Cavana, as always.
And we'll talk to some of the top performers. Quentin Warman in that top split. Coming up just short, but your best restart of the night was probably the last one, as close as it could be. What ultimately made the difference for you tonight?
Just really good teamwork by all the guys, Dev, Matthew, John, just everybody did really good with teamwork. And the car was just really good. I could do whatever I wanted with it, and it was hooked up.
The second place is tough. You were so close to Seb Marin on that final lap. What did it feel like?
You know, I wasn't really thinking of going for the win because I was just trying to survive and keep the P2. But if I was a little closer, maybe I would have tried something. But I'm just glad to get out of probably the most chaotic track on the schedule other than Bristol with a good finish.
There you go. Good way to look at it. Second place tonight for Quentin Warman. He'll move on next week, as will the field, to the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars. Quentin, good stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll continue. And yes, there he is, up on the wheel. I knew we were waiting all night for Sebastian Cam up on the wheel. He can lean back. You can relax a little bit now, buddy, because I can't imagine what it was like restart after restart. So you tell me, you had that whole field, some of the best drivers coming at you every single one of those restarts. How did you make it to the end?
Man, I think a big part was having my teammate, kind of similar like at Vegas, had another teammate up there that we could kind of work together to not jeopardize any of our finishes, right? If that was not a teammate or anybody else at the front row with me, then they were obviously going to race me a lot harder to try and take control of the race. So I think that played a big part of it, but I think we just had a great truck, to be honest. We could do whatever we wanted all night long. I think you saw it with some of my other teammates coming through the field. So just overall, just kind of controlled the pace, had a teammate as rear gunner, so everything just played out perfectly.
You mentioned it, a great truck tonight, but next, when we move on, the final 8 are not in the trucks. We move to the O'Reilly cars, the Cup Series cars. Yes, you've been great, 2 wins out of 4 in the Truck Series. What do you think about your shot going forward and keeping this momentum going as we switch tracks and we switch vehicles?
I feel pretty confident. I always felt like the B car was always a stronger car to me than the truck was. But obviously with the new aero updates coming to it, it'll be slightly different. But I feel pretty confident that I've kind of adapted really well to working around the air. So I feel like it'll be a pretty quick adaptation for myself. So overall, looking forward to it, going to my favorite track, Homestead. So I couldn't be any more excited to start off the Xfinity portion of the series.
Oh, man, an excited driver at his favorite track with a lot of momentum. Seth, thank you, Sebastian. Congratulations and good luck to the rest of the field as we move on, guys. Split 2 winner, Seth. Another driver, we saw it in Split 1, we saw it in your race as well. You had so many restarts at the end and challengers that you had to fend off. What was that like from your perspective? Are you looking out the windshield, or are you looking kind of next to you and in the rearview mirror?
We're just trying to control ourselves. We had a teammate in second, so we were just trying to both of us clear and just try and run away. Just hope that cautions either keep coming or we just stay green and we just keep control of the race. Thankfully, we were able to just control the rest of the race and hang on for the dub.
Yeah, and it was great to see how you were able to do it restart after restart. This momentum taking you from the second split
hopefully forward as we transition to the O'Reilly Auto Parts cars, what do you think you can do as we transition the vehicles?
I don't even know, honestly. That'll be a whole nother animal with the new update coming out. So we'll see how that animal ends up working out. But right now we just got to keep focused, keep doing what we're doing. What we did tonight with Nexus Esports setups was incredible. Keep focused, keep driving.
All right. Congratulations, Seth, on your win out in Split 2. We'll see where it all, comes out when we get back to the track. And finally, let's talk to a big mover tonight, Wyatt Tinsley. Wyatt, there were times you felt like you were fighting there for 14th, and then whether it be strategy or just your skill, you're up there battling for the win at the end of this race. What more did you need tonight to get those final 2 positions? I think I needed a little bit more short run, but Jarrett Liebert had the set rolling on the long run. I got clear of that mess with Andrew, and that was all I wore there, middle of the race. But once I got clear, I was quick. I feel like I was 2-3 tenths faster than everyone was running me. But yeah, I got to appreciate Jarrett. My spotter Ben Parker was on the box tonight, and then I was working really well with the Eddie there. There's this year at 34th place, but overall I felt really good. I was sponsored by Virginia Peninsula Food Bank today, so we're hopefully raising money to give food back to the homeless and all of our community that lives around the Virginia Peninsula area. So I just thank you a lot for them, and it was a good race, great result, and on to the B car portion. Yeah, great run for a great cause. You've been to the Coke Series Championship Series before. I know you want to climb your way back tonight. Hopefully we'll go a long way toward that. Wyatt Tinsley, great run for him tonight, guys, for the Coke Series veteran. Thank you.
It's a full house in the interview room. Appreciate all guys giving us their insight. And you heard it. It's not next Tuesday for the first and only time. There's a week off for these qualifying drivers. It comes at an adept time because they need to get ready to race the O'Reilly cars in 2 weeks' time. Tuesday, March 17th. It's an 8 o'clock start, 7:45 for Countdown to Green, as always, right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Going to be a fun week. You got the College Series returning that Wednesday as well on the 18th. So 2 weeks from now, a lot to do. But I think the biggest story is, you heard it in the interview with him, Alan. Not only is Sebastian maybe the hottest driver in the series right now, bad news, he likes the Xfinity cars and he likes Homestead, and that's where we're going in 2 weeks. We thought maybe, all right, this would be somebody else's opportunity to get a step up, and you heard Seth say, I don't know, we got to figure that out. Sebastian is ready for it.
He is, and that's going to be interesting to see who makes that transition, right? Sebastian says he's ready for it. He's made the most of the truck series in those 4 races. Can he duplicate that as we change these vehicles? And who can do that the best? That'll go a long way into making the championship series. That's why I love the versatility of this qualifying series. It's so unique.
And I guess if you had to compare the two, Kenneth, the difference between the truck and the Xfinity car is smaller than the difference between those two and the Cup car. I don't know if that's a saving grace for anybody, but realistically, you know that these drivers who compete at this level have done top-level sim racing in the trucks, in the O'Reilly cars, in the Cup cars. But even if you've got experience across all of them, it doesn't mean that, you tend to just like one better than the other. And that's the challenge. And I think our favorite part, at least mine, of this format change for this year is you got to be consistent. It feels like a whole season has come and gone over these last 4 weeks. A lot can happen as we move on to a new car.
Think about each transition from vehicle to vehicle as just a whole reset of the field, because you never know which drivers could stand out in one vehicle and then kind of blunder in the second part of the schedule and vice versa. And what's even more important is that it's going to be an even bigger fresh slate, because there's an aero update coming to the Xfinity or the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars next week in the build. So that means not only do you have to deal with a brand new car, it's a whole new type of car. So you've got to get a week to get used to it as well.
Draft model going to be the lead story for these drivers when that build comes out next Tuesday, and then you've got 7 days to figure out any changes and get ready for the O'Reilly part of the schedule, which will start at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Until then, though, that is it for us here tonight from Phoenix. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and your broadcast team tonight, for everybody in the iRacing studios, for Joshua Lee and Ryan Vargas, who joined us on Countdown to Green, and for Alan Cavana, Kenneth Bueno, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to say thanks for tuning in. Congratulations to all of our split winners. But a special shout out to Sebastian Barron, the first 2-time top split winner on the season, looking to carry momentum into week 5 in 2 weeks' time, March 17th. From the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway, that race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing qualifying series can be found exclusively here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until then, good night from Phoenix.